conference. I could start to just give a very short background about who I am. I started 1973 at the Karolinska Institute, and I had started already the year before with my medical studies, but then 73 I met my supervisor, or the person who was going to be my PhD supervisor, and he's a very, very famous scientist. He wasn't then, but he became very, very famous, and his name is Thomas Höckfeldt, and together with him we studied the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, and we could publish an enormous number of papers, and together with people that became Nobel laureates. And as I explained to Monsieur, it was very common for us to publish in journals such as Science and Nature, journals where people, they dream wet dreams to be in such a journal, and very few are ever called to be there. But it was sort of common to be there. Like in my PhD thesis, I have a Nature paper even, which is very, very rare. And that was kind of the background. And then I had my dissertation, and it's common that you should change direction, so you shouldn't compete with your PhD supervisor. So I thought, how should I change direction? Well, I could go from rats and mice to a very uncommon type of experimental animal, namely humans. So I picked humans, and then we started to look on human skin, oral mucosa, and some other things that you easily could get from normal healthy volunteers. And I thought that everything was known about that, but very little actually. So we published again a huge number of papers, and then one evening at 8 o'clock I listened to the radio in my laboratory, and it's very odd. I never do that actually, but for some odd reason I did. And I heard a person from the trade union in Sweden. Her name is Kajsa Vedin, a lady, and she was talking about some kind of people that had got health problems because of the new personal computer screens. And they had been introduced in Sweden around 1980. And I thought, that's interesting. Maybe we could investigate that, because we knew a lot about human skin. And then I thought maybe we could check what's the problem. And so I called her. We met together with a physicist, and the rest is history. That's the reason why I sit here today. But the funny thing was that with my background, I had met all the prestigious people in the world. I was personal friend with the editor of Science, for instance, Floyd Bloom, etc., etc., etc. And then we opened this door and started to study health effects of electromagnetic fields. And we went like this, No one wanted to publish, no one wanted to discuss, and it was a very odd situation. And people said that, no, you shouldn't bother about this, This is just in the imagination of people. This is not real, But slowly I began to realize that, no, it wasn't. It was very real. And in the car this morning, Monsieur took up the latest publication of myself and my co-workers. And now, 2015, we are back at Nature Scientific Reports. So we have come up from the basement all the way to the finest saloons in science. And that's very telling. This is a huge issue nowadays. And also with my background it's very reassuring to see that we are coming back. And during that process, and that would be like from 1980 until today, for the first years, no one called us. But from 1993-4, reporters and journalists started to call us, and not from small Swedish magazine. No. The first call was from BBC in London, and I didn't even believe them. So when they called, I said, no, this is a joke. Yeah, who is it? And they, no, I'm calling from BBC. We want to interview you because the things you do are so extremely important for mankind, for biology, and for this planet. And I hardly didn't even understand that, you know. And since then, the telephone never stops. You can take whatever combination of letters, including Al Jazeera and American channels, and you name it. I've been in every radio and TV channel, on the YouTube, on websites, in magazines, journals, newspapers, tabloids. And that's very interesting. And also, finally, the last 5 years, there is a new category of people calling me, which didn't call before, lawyers. No, good people, very good people. And you know, they are calling from the whole world. Just some time ago, there was a Japanese lawyer who said, I want to come and talk with you. And I said, oh, that's all right. The Karolinska Institute is a public authority, so you are warmly welcome to come here. Yes, but I want to bring another 10 lawyers. Wow, you guys have money. I mean, to bring 11 people from Japan to Sweden for several days with hotels, that's costly, you know. And they did. So we had 11 lawyers, and they interviewed me because they are running different lawsuits. And of course, the most, exciting lawsuits are the American ones. You know, they are aiming for enormous compensations. And they are talking about in the order of $100 billion per case. And they are not suing the companies, not the operators, not the insurance companies. They are suing the American state. Is the fact which people don't understand. When you talk with ordinary people in the street, they believe they are protected, and they are not. I have been at public conferences in London 2004 where I learned that, for instance, the manufacturers, they have completely rid themselves of any form of liability and responsibility. The same for the operators, the same for the insurance companies, which is very interesting. You know, they have like a black list. There are a few items they do not assure or reassure for. One of them is health effects of electromagnetic fields. That's very telling. You are naked as newborn babies from a legal point of view. You can never get any compensation from an insurance company if you get a brain tumor from your mobile phone. And they have been completely open about it. It's nothing hidden. Swedish newspapers have written about that numerous amounts of time. Further on, the radiation protection authorities in the world have said no. They have abandoned ship. And the World Health Organization, through its cancer classification of electromagnetic fields, have said, you have to take the responsibility yourself. And this is because, you know, the World Health Organization can be found liable in front of the United Nations. And after these vaccine scandals with pandemics, they don't want to have that again. And therefore, they protect their back, you know, by saying, oh, this is cancer classified. Now it's up to you to decide as consumers. And this is interesting. Coming back to these, and we're talking about the biggest law firms in the United States, you know, they go for the throat, namely the American state. Because they say it's no idea to attack the operators or the manufacturers or the insurance companies, because they have already told you, we are not going to take any responsibility for this. And in London, it was interesting, there was a representative, a lawyer, by the way, a lawyer who said that for all of us here in London, it's not the question if there are health effects. The question is only who is going to pay for it, and we will not pay for it. Period. And of course, that's a business model. They are not sort of bound by law to take responsibility, because the responsibility is always big father and big mother, namely the governments and parliaments in each country, and here in Europe, of course, the European Union, Parliament and Commission. And they have said that we shall force parents like you to send their kids to schools that are exposed to something the World Health Organization has cancer classified. And that sort of upsets people in the world, I could tell you. That really upsets people. And therefore there are a lot of these parental movement groups, campaigners, activists all over the world saying that no, we don't want to send our kids to these schools, you know. So that was a short introduction, sorry.